psychology of gaming, the science of motivation. So how many of you guys out there are gamers? Yeah! How many are gaming addicts? Yeah! Alright. It's no surprise, there's a reason. We make them that way. Games are like crack for us. We ship it out there, we get it out to you, and it's, yeah! So, when people think about game design, a lot of people think, all these game designers just sit through and go, what if? Wouldn't that be great? Well, the true story is that real successful gaming begins with a dedicated team of professionals. And these professionals, we take and we study a lot of psychology. And we know your playing habits, your motivations, your instincts, and we dissect that similar to the way you would dissect and study lab rats. And then we take that information and craft an experience that gets you guys hooked on games. So I'd like to start off by introducing our team of experts here. If you guys would please just go down the rows, introduce yourself, say your name, your title, and a brief intro, 2 to 3 sentences, please.
All right, I'm Anthony Cummings. I am a lead software engineer on a mobile title, and I enjoy video games and enjoy making them. Well, I don't know. Someone has to go first.
Good afternoon, Chad. Good afternoon, I'm Chad Stafford. I'm a senior producer in a mobile studio here locally. I've been in mobile since 2008, and most of that's been gaming.
Come on. Oh, so
Yeah, and we love to monetize on crack.
How's it going? I'm Richie Taylor. I'm a senior user experience designer. My job is to be an advocate for the player to make sure that everything is intuitive and delightful. And I'm new to mobile gaming, but not new to the science of user experience design.
He has the best interest so far.
I'm Laura Warner. I'm a local game designer. My job is pretty much to make sure that your game you're paying for is actually fun, and that we're not ripping you off.
My name is Casey Dockendorf. I am an art director on a mobile title, and I like to make games pretty, but I also like to make games visually appealing so that you keep coming back for a feast for your eyes.
And my name is Ross Shabilsky. I'm a development director. I ensure the execution of the project, keep these guys in line, and make sure that we ship on time. All right, so to get started here, we're going to introduce some high-level psychological principles. The first one we're going to talk about is known as self-determination theory. And so the theory states that beyond everyone's basic needs for survival, all of us have 3 innate needs that motivate our behaviors. And those 3 needs are competence. Everyone has a need to feel they are good at what they do and that they're contributing something useful to themselves and to others in society. The second one is autonomy. In other words, you have a sense of freedom to act and carry out the decisions you make in a way that gives you a sense that you have free will. And the third is connectedness, that you have a relationship to your world and to others. So, team of experts, what are some of the ways that we leverage these principles in our game design to make a compelling playing experience?
So, when we sit down to look at the opportunity in the marketplace, and we really want to understand these basic principles, and we create an environment that ultimately is one of fantasy, right? We want to give our players a very rich, exciting environment, from the play mechanic, the gaming, to audio visual. We want to ensure that when our gamers invest in this environment that we've created, we give you something that you're interested in, that you love being immersed in, that exploits a skill level that you're always trying to refine and hone. What we want to do is give you that escape that is meaningful, that keeps you connected, and is always relevant to your experience.
Yeah, and along with that, as an experienced designer, it's really important that you have clear objectives for a player to achieve, but you allow them to achieve those objectives on their own. So there's multiple ways of reaching those objectives. So they have a feeling of autonomy and free will within the game space.
And from a game design perspective, we have this term. It's called flow. And what flow is, it's when you're really into a game, you're like, I'm going to play for like 5 minutes, and then like 5 hours later, you're like, what happened? That's called flow. What that is it's you're being challenged, but it's not too hard, but it's not too easy. And a big part of this is understanding what draws you in, what motivates you, what makes you want to keep playing for hours and hours and hours, what keeps you in that flow.
Relating to the topic of self-determination, the 3 items, one of the important roles of the art team is creating a level of immersion. We talk about competence. It's a visual feedback loop that's created for the player when they're performing animations or actions in the game. They want to be able to have clear visual cues as to what they're doing with the gameplay, and they want to be clearly rewarded for that and their actions. Things that we can do to signify that are creating fancy particles in response to things, creating an aural environment using audio to create more immersion. And as far as autonomy goes, it's sort of anticipating the type of actions that the players would like to see in response to the things they do. If they look and see something in the game that looks like it could do something, they're going to assume that it does do something. If it doesn't do something, they're going to be upset. A good example of that is breaking crates. Anybody's ever played a game that had crates, you'll know that if you see a crate in the game, you can probably break it. The autonomy of it. And something probably should be in there too. You're not just going to break crates, otherwise just a vandal in a video game. That's not nice. You're breaking the crates for a reason. You're breaking the crates because there's hidden items in them, there's coins in them. Same thing, you see a rat in the village and you kill rats.
There's an element of surprise,
Yes.
delight that you want to get at your user.
So,
Yeah.
I was going to say, from an engineering perspective, our job is to kind of take all these dreams and visions that the other disciplines create and kind of marry them together in a fashion that actually works as presented to the user and to the player. And a lot of that, the execution relies on our end to make sure that it works well. You can't really be immersed in an environment if the game keeps crashing. You can't, feel any kind of autonomy or any kind of connectedness if it doesn't play well. You won't achieve flow, right, unless that you're actually engaged and the game is working in a fashion that you would expect.
To wrap that up, I mean, what we're all talking about here are analogies to B.F. Skinner's theories of addiction. We know that there are certain things that people love about their games. It is the 3D immersive world. It is the sounds and noises of a slot machine. It is, there are different ways that we drive addiction, and being a business, we will monetize.
Yeah, so with that, B.F. Skinner, he was a behavioral psychologist that studied addiction. There was an interesting experience called the Skinner box he did, where he took rodents and pigeons and decided, let's see what makes these guys tick. We're going to get them drawing and coming back for more. So as an extrinsic motivator, he gave them food. And there was a little switch in the cage that you go and press on to get food. And the different things he tested were, well, let's see what happens if I give them the food every time you press it. So it's a response and reward. And then he said, well, let's see what happens if I take and delay it over time. So every 2 days, they go to press the switch, they'll get food. And the outcome of this study was actually that the most compelling behavior pattern that led to addiction was when a variable response was given. So the first time that they go to press the thing, they might get food, they might not. But on average, over time, they would find that as long as you're giving food at some kind of regular variable interval, but it wasn't happening the same every time, then the animal would get this sort of high off of clicking it because it's always a surprise. If I get you food this time, nope. How about this time? Oh, food, yes, there it is. And incidentally, that's the exact behavioral pattern that they use when they create things like slot machine games. You don't get the jackpot every time, you get the jackpot every once in a while, just often enough, where it's going to keep coming back to the point. So moving on to our next topic, there is this notion that we create these innovative worlds that create addictive play spaces where players immerse themselves through relationship with the characters, the environment, and the interactive elements of the game. So panel, what are some of the ways that we have created these features in our games?
So from a game design perspective, one of the things we really work on is understanding, who we're making the game for, who the audience is, and making sure that that game is authentic to what the player is looking for. So, if you're looking for a horror game, we're going to put a camera in that's much closer, we're going to make the light a lot darker, we're going to make it scary. If you're looking for more of like a fantasy adventure, the library is going to support that. Can you kind of stick to
Oh, of course. A good example of this, if you look at theme games like, you look at Resident Evil, for example, which is a zombie horror, survival horror game, or you look at a game like Plants vs. Zombies, which is also a zombie game. But they are two very different games that appeal to two very different demographics. You're trying to find the right art style and visual appeal that targets your demographic. If we made a game like Plants vs. Zombies, for example, that looked like Resident Evil, it probably wouldn't sell as well. Your target demographic probably wouldn't be as appealed to this sort of gorier, darker vision of this game. But if we were to create a game that was much more visually appealing, you target a much wider demographic. Younger audiences, older audiences, even mid-level audiences of people who enjoy those types of bright, colorful graphics, so they enjoy those types of games. Not everybody likes Resident Evil. People like being scared, but not everybody wants to be that scared.
Plants are scary.
Plants can be scary. Scary plants. There's scary plants in Resident Evil, if I recall. Yeah, if I recall correctly. So yeah, it's a matter of reaching out and finding a right balance within your medium.
And then Richie, you kind of want to talk about, so you try to sit
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the key components of starting one of these projects before you even put pen to paper is identifying what type of audience, what demographic you want to reach. And so you start doing even things like questionnaires or competitive analysis, and you use data that you gather from this to create what are called personas. And personas are fictional archetypes that are meant to represent a group or a type of player. And what it does is it allows everyone on the team, no matter what discipline they're a part of, to identify with these personas. So anytime they're losing track of what they're developing, who they're developing to, they can read this bio. It's the fictional bio. So they're like, okay, I'm building this for this type of person. It'll even contain data like their name, age. We'll talk about what type of car they drive, if they have kids, just so you can really identify with your audience that you're trying to target. And so from an art standpoint, you can look at a persona and say, well, would a 35-year-old female resonate with this art style? It's just meant to keep everyone on the same page on what we're trying to target our game on.
And taking personas one step further sort of holistically allows us to manage the overall experience. So again, we talked about different kinds of dopamine release and different kinds of addiction. And personas, based on play behavior, we can sort of attach a label to, is it a grind mechanic, is it a match 3, is it a shooter this person likes, is it a bright area environment, is it positive rewards via bonuses or power-ups? What is it that this persona is drawn to, and what are they chasing, right? And the science for us is making sure that of 12 different varieties of persona, we have an experience that satisfies every one of them. That's not easy.
So now we're going to get really geeky.
So we weren't already?
Oh, we're going further down that rabbit hole.
That's right.
Here we go.
Take the blueprint.
So, up to this point, we've kind of discussed some general psychology principles, how they apply, and now we've sort of moved into these personas. So, the interesting thing about consumers is that while everyone has these sort of basic needs, everyone perceives them differently. And so, as Richie was describing, we go after certain demographics, we define attributes that indicate the particular types of things you're interested in, and then we target you. Then it gets even weirder. Because once we've got the product and the live service actually running, we need more than that. And Anthony, I think would be a good segue here to sort of talk about what goes on behind the curtains of the very addictive games you're playing.
So, all those games that you play, freemium, not freemium, whatever, surprise, we track you. Yes! Don't anybody worry, take off your tinfoil hat, it's okay.
We're nowhere near as bad as Facebook.
Yeah, you can all relax. We're not really interested in who you're dating or your photos or anything like that.
Unless we're able to us.
Yeah.
Right? I want to know how long you're playing, how many days a week, where are you getting stuck, where you drop out, What is the reward you like?
Do you like green versus blue? Do you like a high-pitched tone when you succeed or a low-pitched tone? What is it that makes you tick? And so this data gets fed back into those personas that we've been talking about. It helps us kind of create even more accurate representations of our target, player data. And that lets us make a game that's actually tuned better for you.
What are some of the ways that we leverage the software to actually do that?
So a lot of the things that we'll do is we'll put in kind of hooks or little places in the game that just kind of imperceptibly track and monitor what's going on. And the user will, as they're playing the game, we keep feeding that data back into our own services, and we will go through and do data analyses and data mining on that.
Let's be clear, it's evil.
Yeah, you certainly don't push it. We run lab experiments on you. We test you.
Yeah, we do, and we employ MBA data scientists to help us understand what we're seeing.
Yeah. We'll take, he mentioned it, we call it A/B testing. Basically, it's just kind of like a blind taste test, right? Do you like Coke or Pepsi? And we figure out which one you like better. And then eventually, the winner comes out, and that's the one that makes it into the game, and and that's the one that will kind of surface up to the top and be one that gets broadcast out to everybody after the fact.
And as crazy as this all sounds, what it really is for though is delivering the product that you as a consumer actually want. Because it may be a thing where, I'm like, Coke's the best. Everyone's gonna love Coke. That's what we're doing. And then and then the engineers come back to me with data, and my UX comes back to me and says, we run the test, and I'm sorry, it's Pepsi. And it's my job as a game designer to make sure you have the product you want, not the product I'm making for myself, but the product that the people who want to play the game actually get. So all this crazy data we collect and stuff is to make sure you guys have the product you actually want to play.
From an art content perspective, I saw you go on top of my jump too. From an art content perspective, it's actually important for the art team to be incredibly flexible to these types of things. We can create, just really, really cool looking visuals and graphics and things like that. And we can find through this data that some of our animation sequences are too long, or things are taking too long to happen, or there's not enough particle effects and things like that. When there's not enough feedback. What's that?
More sparkles.
More sparkles, exactly. I mean, if you want more sparkles, we'll put more sparkles in there. Want more ponies,
Ponies,
I mean,
rainbows.
Anyone who plays games in here can see games where there's direct feedback. Have you ever watched a fan film? A fan film is a perfect example of that. I am a huge Star Wars fan, and I watched tons and tons of Star Wars fan films back in the day. And one of the fan films I watched, there was
Who shot first?
Who shot? Everyone in this room knows who shot first. There was a Star Wars fan film a long time ago where one of the Jedis in the movie had fought with two lightsabers. And if you've ever seen Star Wars Episode 3, there's a scene where Anakin Skywalker grabs Obi-Wan Kenobi's lightsaber and fights with two lightsabers. And it was a direct response to fan feedback. It's a similar principle. You look and see what your audience is enjoying, the things they like, and you incorporate those visual elements into your films, your games, your any entertainment, and people like it. Science.
These guys are touching it up pretty nice here, but how many in the audience here are actually feeling a little freaked out at just how much we track and know about it? Is that just a little bit disturbing? Yeah.
So to speak to that though, we joke about it being evil because obviously this is the data we use to monetize our games. But to be honest, the industry, we're really changing our perspective on monetization, especially in the casual mobile space. We used to be real jerks about, here, let me show you this ad about something you can't afford that you don't want that's in another country, but we're going to show it to you 150 times in the next 5 minutes. Shiesty, we learned, we got it. And it was because we tracked, and we saw what happened when we showed you that ad. We know that when we pinch you on a timer or on a content progression, and we were shameless about it, it was 99 cents. If you don't give me my 99 cents, you don't play anymore. We learned. We learned because we tracked you. We want now the industry is moving to a place where we want the value proposition of your investment, whether that's time or money, to be a no-brainer. We're not asking you to buy something that doesn't give you more content, that doesn't allow you to play longer, that doesn't advance your capacity to score in the game. We do the same thing for time. Whether it's money or time, you are an equally valuable consumer to us. And bridging those two is sort of what the data mining does for us. And it allows us to really make that value proposition invisible.
I want to jump in real quick, just so we can give the audience a sense of perspective on just what we're talking about when we need to monetize. So we specifically make free-to-play mobile games. Now, a lot of you guys out here are probably core gamers or would identify yourselves as core gamers. And what might you expect you spend on an Xbox or a PlayStation game? $60. Okay. And our panelists indicate here, so average spender in a freemium game, we're talking average now, so these are the lower numbers, right? What by an average spender? Out of 1 million such players in the game, what is your average one spending?
Depending on your reach, depending on your game and your audience, mid-level player average $20 to $22 per player, but I have 1.2 million players.
Yeah, even lower. A lot of you guys are freeloaders. It's zero. Zero. Most of you pay nothing. You just leech off of our entertainment that we slave away at, and you pay us nothing. All right. Now, let's talk about our heroes in the audience, the champs. The ones that are the hardcore spenders. What is
Hardcore casual gamer.
Yeah, we have a term for it, by the way. We label our spenders just like we label our personas. So, someone want to take that one? What do we call our freeloaders?
Freeloaders or
Freeloaders, the little fish.
Freeloaders is the nicest term
The little
we've come up
fish.
with.
So, well, as a game designer, you're giving your time as a freeloader. But
We call them
minnows.
minnows. You're minnows. That's what you are. It's minnows.
Industry standard term. We didn't have these.
And the big spenders. What do we call the big spenders?
The big spenders are called whales.
Killer whales.
Killer whales. And what do the killer whales spend in our group?
Low end $10,000.
High end,
$100.
110.
$110,000 on a game.
If
We're not
every person,
talking about.
Console games are chump change.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, right, when we talk about the variety in the audience, it is less than 1% of the audience of a casual game that monetizes. So that engagement and keeping people in a game that they enjoy is, again, just as important as those who are paying. My audience size, I know from the day we start to talk about design, we're talking about less than a fraction of 1% who actually monetize. And then we really get very technical into that small fraction. We slice and dice that to understand how we can obtain monetization that is like a zero barrier to entry. It doesn't mean those freeloaders are unimportant. The freeloaders are just as important as this.
The best example of that, and this is an easier to go to, is Candy Crush. They're making a ton of money, but the people who do their best marketing for them is the people who will not spend a dime on it. Because it's those people who go to their friends and are like, well, I got the level 300 and I didn't spend a dime. It's
Give
free
me one
marketing
more
for
life.
them. It's the people who don't spend that end up getting them the money in the long run, because then their friends are like, oh, I should check that game out. And then they monetize it for the first hour.
how many people in this room play Candy Crush?
Oh, come on.
Don't be ashamed. Don't be ashamed.
Back there. Be ashamed. Okay.
So it's not just about understanding the people who are going to pay. It's also about understanding the people who want to just have a good time and play for free. You've got to understand your entire audience and how to keep them engaged, whether they want to give you time or whether they want to give you money.
Yeah, I mean, we represent it as a business, and it sounds a little capitalist and evil. Okay. But, I mean, what you're really talking about is really high-tech art that we're distributing to people who want to enjoy the art. And we're talking about...
Let's put it in
It's
perspective.
almost-
So,
it's almost
how many of you out
different.
there enjoy watching sports or playing sports?
Or
A lot. I'm
television.
surprised.
Yeah, this is a common convention.
Or maybe you're maybe you're a connoisseur of cars, and you got a lot of money to spend, and going out to spend $20,000, $50,000, $100,000 on the car is not so bad. So, why is it such an odd thing that if your hobby is gaming, that you don't have an outlet to enjoy the same kinds of status symbols and elite statuses, and maybe you're a runner and you wear the Nike shirt. It doesn't help you run better, but yeah, I've got Nike on my shirt, so you feel cool about it.
It does too.
We want to make you feel cool about that in the game. What are some of the ways that we do that?
So one thing that we do is rewards, achievements. You want to be able to share with your family that trophy that you collected in the game. Sometimes people will buy that trophy, but if you were grinding and you earned it on your own, it means something more to you. They give, leaderboards about staying on top. Some people pay to stay on top. Some people really work hard to stay on top. But I mean, it's a great mechanic for keeping people engaged, keeping people feeling like this is like a mutual relationship with the game. You're not being taken advantage of. You know,
It's also community building.
yeah.
Right? I mean, again, you have a community, and you have people who have a shared common interest, who like to talk about that interest, who like to compare notes on that interest, and it's that community that we're ultimately satisfying.
What about some of those customers? So earlier we talked about the theory of connectedness, that people like to feel like they belong, they're contributing to each other, contributing to society, and in some cases we have these society gamers. And one of the target customers we have are considered casual gamers. What are some of the ways, Chad, that our customers playing the games are helping each other out and engaging in behaviors that help reward each other as they play?
So I've spent the majority of my career supporting female gamers 35 to 55. It's a very different demographic than those who like to shoot and blow things up and who want to really rank on a leaderboard. It is not any less intense. It is not any less strategic. We really see the dominant play behavior being both collectionists and completionists. And you see this community of players help each other to achieve goals, talk to each other on forums, stay connected to one another. They've never met in real life. They probably never had a chat session, but via forums, they're connecting to their community. They're relating to others who are going through a very similar interest or a challenge. And it's another way that we feel validated by our community. We feel connected to that community. And my time and the investment of my time is not needless. It's actually leading to something very fulfilling to my soul.
You know, and there's kind of this co-opetition thing that's sprung up where like Clash is a good example. They have guilds, and I've never seen people so angry as they are at their guild mates on Clash of Clans, and it's a mobile game. It's not a core game, but you know, people take it very seriously, and it means a lot to them. So you know, when their guild mates aren't keeping up on their end of the bargain, you feel really mad and frustrated. But then other times they're working with each other to improve their guild. And it's a phone game. It's a free phone game. People get really passionate about it.
How many of us have watched a Twitch stream on either Hearthstone, League of Legends, any number of these things? These are your communities, right? This is what we look to foster and what we're trying to grow.
And Twitch wouldn't exist.
No.
Multi-billion-dollar deal with Amazon.
It's amazing, isn't it?
Because
of the community.
People play games to be that connected. Right? That's
Yeah.
awesome.
You love games so bad you watch other people play. That's video game lawyers.
You get a good
Yeah, but I mean, you know, if I'm learning to run, there are things I will read and people I will talk to. And if I'm trying to learn a new language, I'm going to talk to people who speak that language better than I do, and I'm going to surround myself by smarter people. Come on. You know, it's that notion that I'm educating myself, I'm staying connected, I'm validated. Nobody's judged, right? It's a different sort of experience that's all-inclusive.
Ironically, another example we can use is cosplay. Cosplay is another simple example of where you have people who spend a lot of money, a lot of time making costumes to go to conventions.
How many of you are dressed up as video game characters in the audience today?
Or movie characters. I see some Guardians of the Galaxy.
Oh, there we go. All right. It's about 20%.
Yeah, I mean, there are people in this audience who spent time and money to make their costumes so they could look cool today. And yeah, they're going to be part of the community. And everybody's going to. I've taken 10 pictures. I killed my phone today taking pictures of people dressed in costumes. I ran into Sailor Moon and the Winter Soldier holding hands in the hallway. I was not expecting it. But honestly, they look great. They spent a lot of time and money on their costumes. They look really good. It's not that much different from, free-play gaming. It's not necessarily freemium money, obviously. But hey, you spend more money, you have a cooler looking costume, more people are going to take pictures of you. You're going to take the time and spend the money and do this again next year. And I hope you do, because we'll come back next year and kill my phone taking more pictures of you. It's cool. It's awesome.
So not only do you get a good buzz for your dollar, you get to make a lot of friends, you get to be connected to the community, you have an experience.
It becomes an addiction.
A good addiction, a positive addiction, actually.
That you should pay me for.
Game developers, we have families too. We make a living. So another aspect of mobile games that is particularly interesting is that beyond just the game itself, it's a service, right? It's not just we ship a game, deliver it, and then it's said and done, but we're constantly evolving that game and catering to your needs so that as you continue playing, you're getting an even better experience and finding more things that you like about the game. So what are some of the ways that we take our live service experience and expand upon to make even better innovations?
Yeah, so one of the things that I'm tasked with as a user experience designer is play testing. And with play testing, a lot of that we're getting the telemetry from the game itself.
Telemetry
We're getting
is
that
the
stuff that
emo
we're
data.
tracking. Yeah, we're getting all of that data. And then we're also, I will observe you playing the game, live. It could be behind glass, it could be over your shoulder. The reason why I'm doing that is I'm trying to find those pain points where you are getting hung up and no longer immersed in the game. I want to alleviate those pain points. I'm truly an advocate for the player. I want to make sure that this relationship, you and the game, is meaningful for both of us. And I don't want those hang-ups. If you are taken out of the game, you are not going to monetize, which Chad likes. It's just an ongoing thing that I have to make sure that you are enjoying this experience. And if I can find those pain points and alleviate them, it's better for everyone.
So I just to sort of summarize just a little bit here, I joke about wanting to monetize the user. I mean, we don't do this at the Units of our lives. Obviously, we can do. I know. But to that end, I think we are constantly validating our methodologies, strategies, our audio bed, our engineering and stability of the software, the experience, the design of the mechanic, the art, is consistently validated with you, our users. The reason you're seeing what's in front of you is because those like you have told us what is appealing and what's not appealing. It is a science, right, behind the psychology. We have to understand what our users are telling us. We have to understand how they like to play. We want to know what kind of world it is they want to play in. And we need to make sure that it is a stable, compelling, technical experience each and every time. So I think that what you see from all of our disciplines is that we're always asking you what you want and trying to make sure that we're giving you exactly what it is that you're looking for in your experience.
Yeah, I was just going to add to that. Part of the playtesting is making sure that we have the content necessary for each of those personas. So even if you're not a spender, we need to make sure that the game is compelling enough and you're making enough advancement or getting enough rewards that you continue to play. Maybe you're not a monetizer today, but maybe you will be tomorrow, or maybe you'll share the game with someone who will spend.
And this is something that is happening more and more across the entire industry. It's not just in the mobile market. I mean, this is how you guys got Battle Jets into World of Warcraft. That game's been live for a decade now. And if you look at how it was in vanilla, it's not the same game anymore. And it's because they study us and they look at us and they see what sort of things are the players liking? What could we have to make this game better? And that's, one of the bonuses of playing anything that's a live service is you're gonna get the game you want, and you playing it, giving feedback. That's how you get that game.
And part of the role of the art team in general is to quickly respond to that content. We can never make enough content in free-to-play games, apparently. There's an example, like I was telling these guys yesterday about, so there was a free-to-play mode that came out probably like 5 years ago, and I cannot remember the name of it. I wish I could. But one of the things in this game is that they had battle mounts. And battle mounts in the game, your level 20 character could ride a battle mount and run around the game and kill things and make sense of it. An art team probably a team of 4 artists probably worked on that thing to get them into the game. They charged $20 for people who are buying it. However, there's another piece of the game, and it was a block that you could buy. The block was like a 1x1 block that was probably the size of the character's hand in the game. And these blocks were like something like 25 cents or something like that. And the developers of the game quickly realized that they were selling more blocks in the game than anything else in the game at 25 cents a piece. The reason why is because players discovered they could take these blocks and stack them. And what they would do is they would build elaborate fortresses around the game space to make these blocks. One artist probably spent...
autonomy, freedom.
Yeah, exactly. One artist probably spent a half an hour making that block and plugging it into the game. 4 artists made that battle mount for $20, or to sell for $20. And they spend tons and tons of time and money to make that thing. People are buying blocks. But you know what? If you want blocks, we will give you blocks. That's how the art team goes.
All right, I'm going to wrap this up and give our key takeaways so we can open up the floor to questions. So, in summation of everything we talked about today, yes, there is a very procedural, scientific way in which we study you, extract that data, and exploit it. But although that may seem evil, we're doing that in effect to create the best possible play experience so that you can have a satisfactory, enjoyable experience with our products and also have a connectedness with each other. You know, it's something that brings people together and creates a positive experience. You have fun playing the game, you tell your friends about it, and now you come to Comic-Con dressed up as your favorite game characters because that's how passionate you all are about the things you create. So I'd like to thank our panelists and I think I've been hogging the mic long enough, so I'd now like to open up the floor for your questions, I'm sure.
You're probably going to have to come up to the mic.
Yeah, why don't we just do like a line or something? Like the easiest.
Actually, that's a great idea. If you guys want to kind of pile on just
Yeah,
a
if you
little
have
bit
a
here.
question.
Exert your autonomy.
I'm going to get this guy right here because he's...
Are you impact people? How hard is it to recover from those pain points you were talking about earlier? Let's say a game is buggy or has a glitch in it. How hard is it to recover from that to get people back to being or it's breaking up?
It's not how hard it is, it's how expensive it is.
And evil is subjective, by the way.
I'll own evil. I'm cool with that. That's okay. You know, I mean, a technical glitch can take down your entire business model in 24 hours.
No one will come back.
No one will come back. We've seen games that were ad supported, games that were revenue supported. You can lose millions of dollars in one work week with a glitch. And it is hard.
Yeah. I mean, when it comes to the pain points, like if it's something that's like menuing or, control systems, some of those are easier to pivot on. Typically, before the game ever goes live, we've isolated those. We do a lot of beta testing and play testing before it goes live. But if it's post-launch, it can be a lot of work to get that rolled into the game.
Next question.
Quick question. Just wondering, when you're analyzing the psychology of people, just curious how the concept of gamification. For example, for me, I survived 45 minutes waiting out outside Salt Palace. I'm glad I didn't burn. I pat myself on the back.
It's Pavlovian. We pat you on the back for every positive thing you do.
I'm just curious though. Do you ever feel that sometimes it goes over the top, or there's, do you have, do you have any sense of like, where do you draw your line between overdoing it on the gamification versus, the difference between arbitrary versus actually, does this feel right?
You're talking about what plagues us on a day-to-day basis. If you look at somebody like Nike produced the Nike Running app 2.5 years ago, and they hired a game designer to gamify running. Now via your app, you're competing with your friends, you're going against collective goals, you're getting stickers and you're hearing from athletes that are supposed to be aspirational or inspirational. We do the same thing, right? Right, depending on the game, depending on the persona we're trying to appease or satisfy, we have to be very careful that we're not over the top. I think in the mobile space, we are still in our infancy. I think we've learned a lot in the last 2 years. We've made a ton of mistakes. But, and it's going to sound evil, the money we made on those mistakes are now influencing our sort of evolution going forward, so that we're not so careless, and that we're not shouting ads in your face, and we're not asking you for a dime to play for 10 seconds.
As a game designer, my goal every day is to make sure whatever I'm developing for that user feels authentic to them. I can't feel forced, can't feel trying to have to feel like this is authentic and true to my user base. So that's kind of my goal every day.
Next question.
You guys, I guess at first mentioned kind of like 12 personalities, or a certain set of personalities that takes after his own name. So, I want to know, when it comes to mobile gaming, especially, is there? I feel like my type of personality tends more towards. The reason I play Mario is because I want someone to have built something. I want Dark Souls. I want something that's hard to beat, but that's a set standard. Sometimes I do play a game and it gets easier because I suck. You know, and I can feel that, and I'm like, oh, I don't like that. But like, I mean, what's the kind of, you know, middle ground between that, being able to build something, and I guess is that something you take into consideration?
Yeah, so a lot of that goes into earlier I was speaking about flow. A lot of that is understanding people want to be challenged, but if the minute it becomes too hard, you're out, you're done. It's like, this isn't fun anymore. So you need to feel smart and challenged. But we've got to find that balance between really feeling motivated to keep going and learning versus this is just impossible. One of the best examples of this is Flappy Bird. I know that sounds crazy, but Flappy Bird is super easy to master the controls. Tap and do whatever, and that's it. But it's really, really hard to master. So people put crazy amounts of time into it. They're like, I know what I'm supposed to do. I get it. And it felt like a challenge. It didn't feel like this game was awesome. It's just like, I need to get better at this game. So a big part of that is, you know, understanding where is the player falls into their flow and how to keep them in their success. Having the game feel challenged.
If I ever get to make my evil dreams possible, I want to via algorithms adjust your difficulty level for you as an individual and not the audience's.
Science.
Next question.
That's a great segue to my question, and that is when you were talking about data mining and finding out, okay, am I a Coke or a Pepsi person? It still sounds like you're still cookie cuttering to the largest demographic, but how come you can't make the game so that if I'm playing it as a middle-aged white male and I want to see Lara Croft skimpily clad while my wife's playing as a middle-aged woman and she wants to play and see Lara Croft in
As a man?
Well, yeah, scantily clad.
Make a chart as
Exactly. Exactly. And or, you know, if I want, you know, a dynamic, I start the game and not necessarily assuming that I'm a beginning player, but very quickly the game can start to see that my skill set on like a first person shooter is more than average or less than average, and start dynamically fluctuating as I play the game, whereas my friend sitting next to me is going to have a completely different experience. Maybe even the colors get brighter for him, whereas mine are more dark, and you know, somehow you can determine that I don't like a darker environment and this person likes a lighter environment without going to settings and say up the game, down, you know, that.
So I totally want to answer this question. You want the whole time listening to it, I said something. So this is exactly why MMOs are so successful. This is exactly why City of Heroes made a sequel to City of Villains. This is exactly why there's Horde and Alliance in World of Warcraft. Essentially, what you're talking about is creating multiple personas for multiple players. You are, you know, how many people in here play World of Warcraft? How many people here are Horde or are Horde? How many people here are Alliance? That's what I thought. More Horde. More Horde. You know, that's exactly why MMOs have been so successful. Is you can tailor the game specifically to your player. Yeah, if you want to be, if you're a 30-year-old white male, but you want to play a 15-year-old girl with a pink wig in the game, you can. In City of Heroes, you can exactly do that. If you want to be a hulking brute of a character and you're a woman in a cape, you can do that. You have that control, and that's essentially why those games are that successful. You create all those types of content. However, creating that type of content is incredibly expensive to create that many options.
Yeah, but you're also talking about. I really think the problem we have in mobile is our audience is 10 times bigger, and they're not paying us. And we want to keep so many different kinds of people interested in playing. So lowest common denominator without algorithms
I'm working on it.
is the strategy of the moment, right? And you're trying to always be compelling. I can only be so compelling within the confines of my established game pattern, environment, user experience. We're going to change that. In the next 3 years, I think what you'll see out of mobile gaming studios will in fact give you a entirely customized experience for you. To the point when you hand the iPad over to a son or a daughter, lost, can't play it.
We'll move to the next question. I've got 2 more left. We've got about 4 minutes left, so let's try and get them in.
Lightning round.
Talk fast.
So, you evil geniuses, I'm wondering if you can use specific examples where your morals and ethics were challenged as you created these things. And you
It's never happened.
That bar is low.
So, there have been studies in games like First Life, where the avatars were so customizable that people stopped engaging in reality whatsoever, and they started marrying people that they met in First Life, where people have entire businesses based on the outfits that they create, their digital outfits, or the fabrics that they make. That reality stops holding value for them, and I'm wondering if you've ever reached a point where you go, oh, maybe this isn't such a good idea.
Nope, low bar.
Yeah, no, just real quickly, I think the only time in my career where we sat around having beers saying, God, do we realize what we're doing, was when we as an industry were trying to figure out ads. Right? Ads were really tough in the beginning. We didn't have the control over them. I didn't know if you were male or female, if you were interested in this product or not, so we just spammed the hell out of you with everything. I mean, listen, I don't like that, right? I don't like to sit through ads. I think the industry as a whole, that was a bit of a dark moment where we knew we didn't have enough to keep from being awful.
I'll answer another way. Our customers are our golden geese. I don't know if anyone's heard the fable where you kill the golden goose, you stop getting golden eggs. You push too far, and people turn away. And so it's important that we take our learnings and try to create an experience that keeps coming back.
And that's exactly how we learned those lessons. We killed the goose.
Or goose. And let's just face it, Chad, he doesn't have an angel on his shoulder.
And then he ate it.
All right, next question, last question.
Yes, don't fly away.
Well, I'm not actually a gaming nerd, but I am a moderate psychology nerd. So I was wondering, well, as you guys are doing, collecting your data and monitoring your users, do you have to deal with like an IRB at all? Do you have, if you don't have your own ethical code, if you don't have your own ethical code, do you have to deal with anything like that?
Low bar.
Well, the data we're collecting is pretty much, it's more along the lines of what button did they push? And how long did it take them to push that button?
Technically anonymous.
And we're not looking at, it's like, well, 14-year-old girls and stuff like that. We don't get that.
Right.
So,
I just wanted, when you run studies in an institution or as a psychology major or whatever,
yeah.
even if it's something really simple data that you're collecting, you still have to like get informed consent.
We have a privacy policy.
We do.
It's about this long. It's about that big. We're not producing databases,
Right.
frankly, which keeps us out. We have privacy policies. We have, with our users.
There's opt-out
I mean,
options.
and we're shiesty, right? You download the game, you can read it. Fair enough. It's just like every time you have an update to your iPhone, and Apple puts up the window, are you sure you want to sell your first one? Sure, I agree. Just give it software, right?
And a lot of our testing, like that Richie's talking about, that's voluntary. That's people, study groups go to them and say, hey, do you want to come play this game? We're doing some research, and people volunteer to come in and use the game early. So that's more a lot more specific.
I mean, by virtue of time, we're allowing us to.
Thank you.
Thanks again very much, everybody. Great turnout today. Appreciate it.